I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 19th, where found out early this week that Creston Livestock Auction is set to sell at public auction on May the 1st. Now that sale is one of the top sale barns in the Midwest. It's been run for the last 20 years or so by Tom Fry and his family. I've mentioned on here before that Tom Fry is somebody that I've admired for a long time from afar, and then later after we became friends, didn't change at all, but he is going to be selling that business. And a lot of you guys might be thinking, wait a minute, I know Tom Fry, he still looks like he could whip most men, and he's got two very capable sons that could take that deal over. But the truth is that Tom has been diagnosed with a condition that he can live with, but he can live better and longer without the everyday stress of running an auction and caring about it the way you should when you're running it right. And his boys have got some other opportunities. They came about 20 years ago from Colorado and moved out there into southern Iowa and became entrenched in that community, in that area. They ran that business, they built it up, made it prosperous, done a good job just being in business in that part of the world. They were generous. They've opened their home up to children that didn't have as many advantages as most. Along those same lines, had unbelievable tragedy. They lived through all that, and it's just time that Tom moves on to the third act, I guess, in his life, and I'm not sure how many acts he plans on living. But anyway, here's an opportunity, folks. It's an opportunity to buy a Going Jenny sale. And it's rare if you want to get in the auction business. Most of the time when you get a chance to buy a sale barn, it's either been run into the ground, it's carrying so much debt you can never find your way out of it. It's been closed up and been sitting empty and hadn't been running for quite a while. But no, he's going to have sales right up to the sale day, and auction that sale off on May the 1st, and then spend the month of May introducing the new owners to the local customers around there, the buying base, everybody. It's going to be a smooth handoff. It doesn't really matter who gets in it. They should be able to make a good go of it. He's got a lot of loyal customers there. He's got a good buyer base, although if you can get the cattle in there in that part of the country, you don't have to worry about the buyers. They'll be there because you're just in a good area. Southern Iowa, you got farmer feeders, you've got cow-calf producers, you got top quality cattle right in there, and it's just a good place to own a business if that's what you want to do. But May the 1st, they'll be auctioning that off. I'm giving you guys plenty of notice so you can warn your wife and your banker. But it's an opportunity, and don't think this is a put-up deal or they already know what's going to happen. I talked to Tom on Monday, and he told me, like all good auctioneers, he's rarely ever sold anything in his life that he didn't know what it was going to bring or have a pretty good idea who was going to buy it. But he said on this deal, he said, we're wide open. And so anybody can come in there. If you're looking to have a change in your life, a change of business, and you got the wherewithal to do it, and you've got the drive and desire, it's a very enjoyable thing to do. Believe me, it's so much easier to go into a sale barn that's already going and already well established. Believe me, you build one from scratch and try to make a go of it, it's tough, and I've lived that and here to tell you that. But we'll go on and talk about the markets. The board on Monday, April live cattle futures down 77 cents at 128.32. Your June up 65 cents, and June starting to look a whole lot better. We've had a lot of people rolling into June, and of course had to buy their way in, and it's gained quite a bit of ground. June was up 65 cents on Monday and ended the day at 122.57. And that's less than $6 difference in April, and it was a lot larger than that pretty much its whole life. So March feeder cattle up 32 cents at 141.65, and April down 62 at 146.30. The weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on 81,000 head in your 5-area feeding region. Not sure how many weeks we can go in this new year that these packers can get by buying significantly less cattle than they did the same week a year ago. It's only been 2 weeks out of this whole year, this calendar year, that they bought the same or more cattle than they did the same week a year ago. That 81,000 they bought last week compares to 104,700 head this same week a year ago. The weighted average on live steers in the 5-area feeding region, 127.14. That was down $1.01 because bulk of your trade at 127. Of course, the prior week it was 128. In your dressed steers, your weighted average price was 204.25. That was down 82 cents compared to the previous week. Nationwide, encompassing all the areas outside the 5 areas, had 90,000 head. 24% or 21,800 of those were for 15 to 30 day delivery. So we're seeing that step up here the last couple of weeks. 116,000 new formula contracts were signed last week, so that's significantly more than all the negotiated trade that we had, of course. And at 116,000, about that many more March and April contracts than a year ago. So that's the way they're securing more cattle, and of course less negotiated cash trade with kind of a new interest in forward contracts there. But let's talk about your trade. Of course, Nebraska is still reeling from the horrible floods. A lot of those rivers have yet to crest yet. The Missouri, it's coming down the pike, guys, and it's going to flood in St. Joe, Missouri. It's going to flood all through there. St. Louis, you better get ready. You know, some of the waters, just the flood waters up in Nebraska as a whole, are starting to recede a little bit, and people are coming in and see what a mess they've got. And the Nebraska governor called it probably the most devastating flood in the history of the state. So that's significant there. Another thing I heard on Monday was that several of the ethanol plants that haven't already been shut down due to the fuel market are having to shut down because the railroad are closed or the railroad bridges are washed out and things like that. Think about all the infrastructure that's been destroyed by this horrible flood. But that's significant because so many of those feedlots in that area rely on the byproducts that come out the back end of those ethanol plants. And if they shutter those, then they're going to have to change the way they do things. Of course, there's plenty of corn around to buy, but it's just gets you out of kilter whenever you have to change rations, change the way you're feeding and everything. And just you still feeling for those people up in Nebraska, as they are really taking the brunt of this winter and the coming spring weather. Look at your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Monday at 136.67, up 50 cents. That's the first time we've seen it up for a while, especially during this big bomb cyclone and all this bad weather we've seen and floods and everything. But pretty good mood, especially in the southern plains on Monday, as we had a beautiful weekend of weather. Just absolutely gorgeous, and there's enough moisture around. This wheat has really popped and turned green, starting to see green horizons in your grass pastures too. And people kind of hungry for some cattle, and your feedlots were noticeably more hungry in the southern plains, and we'll kind of see that as we talk about some trends in some different areas on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City at 8,800 head there. Southern plain feedlots, the corporates were pretty hungry there. Feeder steers $2 to $6 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $3 higher. Calves $5 to $12 higher. So just had a heck of a sale in Oklahoma City on Monday, and that's great for them. One individual quote, which is a market quote, but they had the biggest string of the day on Monday. National Commission Firm, 119 head of 853 pound steers That's getting up there pretty high up in the index cattle. 853 pounds at 135 and a half. And that's the market, and that's a pretty good market right there. Joplin Regional Stockyards had a much bigger run than they were expecting at 7,800 head. You notice they're starting to get further up into the Midwest, and your feedlots were not as hungry, but your calf buyers still hungry, as feeder steers in Joplin steady to $3 lower, calves steady to $3 higher. Joplin, of course, being the second biggest, the day had the second biggest quote. 111 head of steers weighed 706 in Joplin, 147.50, and that's the market there, guys. That's just not a tippy top quote, that's the market. Russell Livestock, Russell, Iowa, 2,300 head there. Feeders there, $2 to $5 higher. Calves, $2 to $5 lower. So you still had some guys that needed some feeder cattle, some farmer feeders, maybe out up into Iowa there that weren't involved in the storm, but they need to get some cattle and get them on feed before they start getting ready to do their crop work. And but the calf deal was not as wild in Russell as it was 2 weeks ago, which was the last sale that they had. They did have a good quote there. 2 loads of steers weighed 835 at 143.50. And that's a heck of a good quote. Of course, that's in the Northern Plains, and those are bringing a premium up there. Here's a report out of Faith, South Dakota. The only place you'll ever see this market reported is they don't have a regular market reporter, but are sure justified to have one. Near 4,000 head in Faith, South Dakota. Look at this market report I pulled up on Cattle Market Central, automated report here. And look at your biggest quotes in the different classes. Steers on the 7-weight steers. 715 head of them weighed 754 at 150.17, and on the heifers, 886 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 637 at 149.68. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.